Good evening, everyone. It's Monday, June 13th, 2022. We're going to call the regular session of the Housing Authority meeting to order. Attorney Souza, the open meeting law, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good evening. The language for the open meeting law is as follows. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you. Martha, roll call, please.
Chairwoman Sahadi.
Here.
Vice Chairman Underhill.
Here.
Commissioner Burns is absent. Commissioner Bentley.
Here.
Commissioner Medeiros.
Here.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda tonight is the report and recommendation of the Fall River Housing Authority Executive Director Search Subcommittee. The recommended action is to interview Mr. Kevin Spardella before the full board. So we'll be interviewing Mr. Spardella this evening. We have one additional interview that we'll do at a later time, but this evening will be Mr. Spardella. So Kevin, please.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly. So for ease this evening, Attorney Souza will be asking the questions to make this a little bit easier, and then each of us can take our own notes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good evening, Mrs. Spardella.
Good evening.
So we're going to go through a number of questions and then take your time, and we'll go through. You can answer as thoroughly as you'd like. The first question before you would be, please describe for the board your administrative experience. And what administrative experience, meaning strengths, management skills, public housing knowledge, and public housing philosophy, will you bring to the position of Executive Director of this large public housing authority?
Well, first, thank you, everyone, for giving me the opportunity to interview. So your question, administrative experience and philosophy, I believe is what you said. So I've been employed for the Fall River Housing Authority for 30 plus years, as everyone is aware. Almost 10 of those years have been in upper management positions. I served as the Director of Modernization and Development, the Director of Facilities Management, as well as the Deputy Executive Director and currently the Interim Executive Director. Over the years serving in those various departments, I've gained a lot of knowledge and strengths on how each one of those departments operates, how they function, how they interconnect with some of the other departments, and the reliability on each other. As far as philosophy, my philosophy has always been simple. Provide warm, dry, and safe units to our residents, a safe working environment for our staff, and a strong collaboration with outside agencies to be a good neighbor in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. So more specifically, please tell us about your experience as a manager of a complex organization, including how many individuals you currently supervise on a daily basis. Please include some of the issues that you as an administrator will address in order to more effectively manage a complex organization such as the Fall River Housing Authority.
So, as you may or may not know, the Fall River Housing Authority is one of the larger housing authorities in the state of Massachusetts. We have roughly about 140 employees. We also deal with and manage several outside vendors and contractors. And over the past couple of years, I've had oversight over the staff and also these vendors and contractors. Some of my experience in those positions that I served in, Director of Modernization and Development, I would implement and coordinate numerous capital improvement projects. So many over the years, roof replacements, window replacements, new kitchens and baths, heating systems. As the Director of Facilities Management, when I took that position, we did a total restructuring. We worked closely with the management department to better improve our vacancy turnover, our work order completion, as well as our REACT scores. We really worked to do that. So those were some of the positions and some of the experience that I gained working in those departments, and again, gaining a strong knowledge of how they operate and how they interconnect with one another.
Thank you. The Fall River Housing Authority has to interact effectively with federal, state, and municipal organizations and other funding sources. What experience have you had specifically in dealing effectively with all levels of government organizations? More specifically, what knowledge do you possess of government regulations, especially those issued by the Department of Housing and Community Development, as well as the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development?
So over the years, I've established some strong relationships with the representatives from DHCD and HUD, the field agents, the construction managers, the project managers, the housing specialists, and other people serving in different roles. Always a positive relationship with them. I've also established good and positive working relationships with other city agencies such as the police department, the fire department, the health department, community development. As you know, the Housing Authority and housing authorities in general have to adhere to many rules and regulations, and so my understanding of, operational procurement, mod spending, the admissions and continued occupancy policy, our admin plan, it affects all the different departments, and having what I believe is a strong understanding of those regulations has helped us maintain and adhere to those regulations that we're required to do.
Thank you. Now, if you could please tell the board, what academic degrees do you hold in either business management or business finance? Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development believes that an applicant should possess a minimum of 2 years' experience in housing, community development, and public administration, or a closely related field. What education and experience do you believe makes you qualified for the position of executive director?
So I think you have that on my resume. I have an associate's degree in business administration. I have a bachelor's degree in business management, and I also have a master's degree in management. I hold several professional licenses in Massachusetts: real estate, insurance, construction supervision, and I also have several certifications as a public housing manager, a Massachusetts public housing administrator, and also a Massachusetts public procurement officer. So I think my formal education, my licenses, my certifications, and my 30-plus years of experience in public housing, in the public housing industry, far exceeds what the requirement may be. And I think that's what makes me the stronger or strongest applicant or candidate, if you will, for the position.
Thank you. Budget preparation and sound fiscal management are important parts of the executive director's responsibilities. Please describe in detail your experience in the preparation and monitoring of an annual budget. What was the total size of that budget?
So again, the Fall River Housing Authority, being one of the larger housing authorities in the state of Massachusetts, our annual budget is $40 to $42 million when you combine all the revenue received from all of our state, federal, and housing voucher programs. I've worked very closely with the Director of Finance in putting our budget together, which you'll have later on to approve. And we also worked with the accounting department so we can put together accurate and realistic budgets for each department to operate in, so they have a better understanding and parameters on how to run their departments, each department head. So I've worked closely with the Director of Finance on that budget. I've also just completed, as I do every year, our capital funds program budget. That was $5.5 million. And up until the past couple of years where I've handed off to our Director of Modernization, I used to do the capital improvement plan budget for DHCD, which is about $1 million. So very familiar with our budgets for the different departments. When I was the Director of Facilities, I also put in new policies and procedures to control our inventory and our materials and supply spending to save the Housing Authority money.
Thank you. So, please describe any experience you may have had with taking the lead role in union negotiations and other collective bargaining processes.
Union negotiations. So the past couple of years, I assisted in the union negotiations. We were doing wages only. We didn't have a full contract. So I assisted the former executive director and the human resource director and the attorney. But this year is a little different. I have the lead role. We're negotiating a new 3-year contract. We're proposing many changes. The dialogue has been very positive. I'll be updating the board later on in executive session. Some of the proposed changes are a strict and tight sick leave policy and overtime policy. So it's been a great experience. It's very positive and optimistic from the get-go, and I think in the end it's going to be a win-win situation for the Housing Authority and for the collective bargaining unit. So that's my experience with union negotiations.
Thank you. The Fall River Housing Authority experiences a large number of unit turnovers on an annual basis, which create tenant vacancy issues with funding agencies, resulting in reduced revenues to the authority. Please describe what efforts you would consider to effectively deal with these issues, or this issue.
So, vacancy turnover, when I became the Director of Facilities, we addressed that aggressively right from the get-go. Quite frankly, that department was in disarray. We had numerous vacancies in key positions. We had vacancies throughout the Housing Authority that were 100, 200-plus days, open work orders, just totally unacceptable. So we put new policies and procedures, again, working closely with management department, and we aggressively attacked that to improve our vacancy turnaround, which is now less than 29 days, which is within industry standard. Again, the timely completion of work orders, improved REACT scores. But we also, Attorney Souza and his legal team and the management department, Kathleen and Deb, we aggressively look to make in-house and court agreements to reduce our tenants' accounts receivable, our TARs. And that's currently below 3%, which is within the industry standard. So the long-term vacancies and the outstanding rental amounts, that affects the bottom line. That was aggressively addressed, and the current facilities director and his staff are doing an even better job, and as well as Kathleen and Deb in maintaining that.
Thank you. Excuse me. Do you support the concept of the delivery of social services under the auspices of a large public housing authority? And if so, what types of services do you feel are the most beneficial to families, the elderly, and the disabled residents of our public housing agency?
So again, as a large housing authority, we really are an extension of a social service agency. We have in the past, and we continue to provide various social services to our resident population. For example, we have basketball leagues. We're going to be having an art program. We're going to have a lunch program starting next month at 5 of our family sites. We have job opportunities for the summer for our youth population. And we also collaborate and have in the past with other social service agencies for after-school mentoring and tutoring. I used to participate in those programs. That's been beneficial to our youth, and I feel strongly for and will continue. We've also provide the family the FSS program, self-sufficiency, to our younger heads of household in the family developments. We also collaborate with the Department of Transitional Assistance for job opportunities for those residents. There's a literacy program that will be starting up. Over the pandemic, we also provided and collaborated with other agencies for vaccine clinics. I think that served our family population well. And as far as the elderly and disabled population, we've always and continue to provide activities such as senior concerts, cookouts. I think I've mentioned that at some of the board meetings, bingo nights, and what's really important for the elderly and disabled population are the health clinics. We provided the vaccine clinics during the pandemic, and we will also be doing with South Coast Hospitals blood pressure monitoring, cholesterol monitoring. So I think with the size of the housing authority that we are and the diverse population that we have, these services are extremely important. And I will definitely, if I'm selected as the permanent executive director, will support and continue these social services.
Thank you. The Fall River, excuse me, the Fall River Housing Authority Joint Tenants Council is the oldest citywide tenant organization in the city of Fall River. Important to the group, first and foremost, is meaningful tenant participation by residents in the policy and decision-making processes that are continuously developed by the Fall River Housing Authority. What and how will you communicate the Fall River Housing Authority Joint Tenants Council to ensure that they have the opportunity to participate and have a voice in the policy-making processes?
So when I became the, Deputy Executive Director a couple years back, since that time, I started to meet monthly with the Joint Tenants Council, Commissioner Underhill and Mr. Gagnon, and continue to do so. We meet on a monthly basis at their offices at the Cardinal Medeiros Towers, and we discuss a variety of topics: resident concerns, tenant safety, community programs, the tenant assistance program where we have a resident from each building assist the maintenance department with minor custodial duties, and they get a stipend, but that stipend doesn't count toward their income when calculating their rent. We support the Joint Tenants Council when they attend conferences and participate in other community events. So I feel that we have a very strong dialogue. As I said, we meet on a monthly basis. And certainly if anything comes up after our meetings or before our meetings of concern, they reach out to me and we communicate via phone.
Thank you. What systems would you employ in order to monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of the Fall River Housing Authority? What reporting systems would you develop in order to keep the Board of Commissioners aware of all of the authority's progress, as well as any problematic issues that may arise?
So, monthly, we have monthly department head meetings where we all get together, we bounce different ideas, and we also share what's going on in our individual departments. And we all, we always encourage dialogue as you attend. But the Housing Authority is required to submit monthly, quarterly, yearly reports and statements to both DHCD and HUD. So each department is responsible for their bit of information that goes into those reports, such as our tenants' accounts receivable, our occupancy rate, our vacancy rate, our mod spending, various other pieces of information, our voucher count, our applicants that apply for the different programs. So I monitor this information on a monthly basis and use it to gauge against what the industry standards are and what the standards are where we need to comply. So I monitor that on a monthly basis, communicate with the department heads to make sure we're where we need to be. But also, we put these reports together and they're supplied to each commissioner each month in your packet. So the commissioners are fully aware of where we are, how we're doing, full transparency if there's any questions. So that's how I think I monitor how we're doing as a housing authority, keeping the Board of Commissioners aware of where we're at. And certainly any areas of concern that arise after a meeting, before a meeting, I have an open dialogue with all of the commissioners. Just last week, we unfortunately had a fire at Sunset Hill, and I thought it was important. Facilities gave me the information, and I passed that along to the commissioners, so you're fully aware of what's going on. So those are the types of reporting and information that I use to.
Thank you. Please describe what you feel to be your 3 most significant administrative accomplishments. It's a much shorter question.
Working alongside Attorney Souza on a daily basis.
Great answer.
Looking back, working in the various departments, I guess one of the items that I'm proud of is going back a few years when we were trying to federalize Pleasant View from state to federal. That process had been going on for about 15 years, multiple phases of work, so many challenges, code changes, different contractors not performing, and myself, Joe Pimentel at the time, and Darlene Clement, who's since retired, we all worked very hard to get Pleasant View over the goal line to federalization. And when they finally inspected it, we received a 99, a near perfect score. So I'm very proud of what we did as a team back then regarding that. I'm also proud when I worked as the Director of Facilities, restructuring, working closely with the management department and really turning that department around. As I said earlier, it was in disarray. We took over the maintenance part. We worked closely with management, and we turned those vacancies over. We completed those work orders and improved our REACT scores. So I'm proud of that. And I guess most recently, as Deputy Director, the pandemic, putting in safety protocols to keep our staff and our residents safe while maintaining the daily operations of the housing authority. Ed and Joe and Mike and all of the maintenance leaders and the maintenance staff, I mean, did yeoman's work to maintain operations during a time of so many unknowns. I mean, we were getting updates weekly from the CDC, from DHCD, and we were all flexible and fluid and changing on the fly. And I think with all of the tragedies that have happened during the pandemic, I'm proud of that we maintained operations and we kept everyone safe for the most part. So that would be one of the things that most recent I can remember that I'm proud of.
Thank you. And the final question would be, in 5 minutes, please outline why you feel you should be the successful candidate for the position of Executive Director of the Fall River Housing Authority.
So, as I mentioned earlier, my formal education, my professional licenses and certifications, my 30-plus years in the public housing industry, I think it far exceeds and goes beyond what's required as an executive director. But I think what's also important to mention, the Fall River Housing Authority has never had an executive director that started at ground level as a manager and worked their way up through the various departments, becoming department head and ascending to the top position. It's never happened. I think that goes a long way with the staff. I think staff respect that, they appreciate that, because they know that it's someone that's walked in their shoes. They know it's someone that understands the daily challenges of their jobs. And they see someone that leads by example and not from behind. I don't know that you can quantify that, but I just think it's a morale booster. It's never happened. Someone that has the knowledge of all the departments. And I can also say with confidence that no one would work harder than I with integrity and transparency to protect the best interests of the housing authority. So I think when you couple all of that and put it all together, again, I can say with confidence, I think that makes me the most qualified applicant for the permanent position of executive director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any additional questions of the applicant? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Spadella.
Thank you.
We'll have one additional interview that will be coming up that needs to be scheduled, and we may need to do it by Zoom, but we will then get back to you and let you know.
Thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Do you want to set the meeting now before we get clear, or do you want to set a date?
Very good.
We certainly can. We need to set another meeting date. Then
So-
it would probably be to our best interest to do it as a special
Rather than wait?
rather than waiting. So I don't know what everyone's schedule is like. And we have to let the applicant know as well, and what his or her schedule is like.
I wanted to wait till we had everyone together rather than call you individually, so that's why I waited for tonight.
What are we looking at, next Wednesday?
I'm looking at next Wednesday, the 22nd of June, as a possible time, maybe at 5 o'clock for the second interview. That or July 6th. I know that's the July 4th holiday, but
So next Wednesday.
next Wednesday at 5, if that works. That way we have the opportunity to, it's at the pleasure of the board. If you want to do it earlier, we could set up an earlier time at 4:30.
In person?
We will be in person. I believe the candidate will be calling in on Zoom. Okay.
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, Wednesday is, either one's fine.
Wishes are okay with that?
That's fine.
So
Is 4 o'clock okay?
4 is good.
So we'll give him the option to him, right? We'll give him the option, just in case he can't do 4.
Okay.
Then we'll do it at 5, but if he can do 4, then let's schedule it for 4 o'clock. How's that?
Perfect. And then we will post the meeting, obviously, as a
Right.
special meeting. That'll go before the city clerk's office and be posted on the city's website. And I will, how do you want to notify the members? We'll just send them an email or?
I'll email the agenda, like
Okay.
we've done with the other meetings.
Okay. And then we'll confirm the time. I guess we can confirm the time tomorrow. I'll discuss that with Mr. Burke. I believe Tim Burke, the Human Resources Director, can contact or reach out to the other candidate and finalize the timeframe with him, and then we'll let you know. Okay, so we definitely have a definitive date of June 22nd.
Yes,
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
5.
yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. You can come back and join me. Next item on the agenda is citizens' input. Do we have anyone here this evening? Seeing none. Residents' input?
Thank you, Mary. We'll make this really quick. Starting next week, the farmers markets are kicking off. The first one will be Tuesday at St. Anne's Hospital. That'll be from 11 to 2. The second one will be on Wednesday at Health First. That's a 2 to 5. And Cardinal Maderas will have theirs every Friday until the end of October from 11 to 2. You're all invited to attend. Opening day is this coming, well, not this coming Friday, but the 24th. And hopefully we'll, get some better sales. But we did lead all 3 farmers markets in the Healthy Initiative Program sales.
Excellent.
Are you gonna have flyers that go out?
Yes. If I can get them to you, Martha, can we put them up for the, as an email blast? Thank you. I should have them tomorrow, hopefully.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Item 2 is the minutes of the regular meeting held May 9th, 2022. The recommended action is approval.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is bills and communications. The vouchers are in your packet. The recommended action is to accept them.
Motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions with regard to the vouchers that are in your packet? Hearing none. Item 4 on the agenda are the management reports. Included in the management reports is item 1 is the applications, 2 is the occupancy reports, 3 is the tenants accounts receivable report, 4 is the monthly work order reports, 5 is the monthly Section 8 voucher activity report. Item 6 is the monthly personnel count report. Item 7 is the Director of Modernization monthly report, and item 8 is the bank investment and bond debt balance report. The packet is included in your packet. Do I have a motion to accept the management reports?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any questions with regard to any of the reports that are included here? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 5 is the financial reports. We have our Director of Finance here today, if anyone has any questions. It will be the quarterly report. It's the state quarterly report for the period ended March 31, 2022. The recommended action is approval.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Does anyone have any questions of our Finance Director this evening? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Item B is the operating budget book for fiscal '23. The year end is March 31, 2023. And everyone would have received in their packet the operating budget. The recommended action is approval.
I make a motion to approve the operating budget.
Second.
Any questions on the 2023 operating budget? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Item 6 is an update from the interim executive director.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So a few things. First, I would like to acknowledge Ed Gagnon. He was a little shy last month, but I heard from a little bird that he received the Jack Cooper Award at the conference that they attended, I believe it was last month, for his dedication to public housing residents and all the work that he's done and does and continues to do. So I wanted the board to know that someone that's close to us also received the award at that conference, as well as Commissioner Underhill. So I wanted to give Ed The second acknowledgement I'd like to make, we have Miss Paula Eaton here, and she retired from the Fall River Housing Authority, serving 29-plus years. She was a dedicated soldier to us and did a great job. And Paula, if you want to come up, we have a little gift and a gift card for you on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. We just wanted to thank you very much for all your years. I also wanted to make the board aware, myself, Attorney Souza, and Tim McCoy met last week with the Congressman Jake Auchincloss, as well as Mayor Coogan. We met in my office to discuss some of the needs of the Fall River Housing Authority. Tim brought up some concerns regarding procurement, some of the restrictions that HUD puts on us, and we also discussed the mixed population sites that were traditionally elderly and now they're mixed, and some of the problems that it causes and has been causing, for example, at Dolan Apartments. So Attorney Souza was extremely instrumental in coordinating that meeting. Thank you, Mike. And I think it's good to have a voice on the federal level, not just on the local level. So it was a very positive meeting. It went well. Tim brought up some good concerns, as did Attorney Souza, and it was a great dialogue. So wanted to inform you of that. You have in front of you what we discussed at a couple of meetings was a vaccine policy. So in discussions with the union, they're proposing a mask policy because some of their policies or some of the vaccine mandates are being lifted on the state level as of July 1st. So they were not in agreement of a full vaccine policy. Not to say that we can't push back if we wanted to, but they're proposing a mask policy. It seems like things are getting better with the pandemic, so they don't feel that there's as strong as the need to have a full vaccine policy in place for the housing authority. So it's there for your review and discussion, and it's not a vote, and you can review it and we can discuss it further.
At a later meeting?
Yeah,
At a later meeting.
at a later meeting.
That's a good idea.
And the last thing I have, when I'll be providing the board with an update on the union negotiations, we're really getting into specifics, so that will be done in executive session. And that's all I have for my update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Spadella? Hearing no questions, moving on to new business. Item 1 is modernization. Amendment number 12 to the contract for financial services, CFA 5001. The amendment is in the amount of $376,643 is for the formula funding for fiscal year 2025. Do I have a motion to approve amendment number 12?
Motion to approve amendment number 12.
Second.
Any questions with regard to this amendment?
If I could just add, that is opera funds that we received from DHCD. What they did is they matched our formula funding. So that's extra money that DHCD is allocated through the ARPA funds, and we can incorporate it with our other funding for capital improvement. And in discussing it with the Director of Modernization and the Director of Facilities, I think we're going to earmark it toward security cameras at Maple Gardens. So, just wanted
And
to...
you have to do all of the same reporting for Opera as anyone else receiving it as a recipient, direct recipient?
Yes, there was a formal application that I had to do to receive these funds, and then once we expend it, we have to report on it.
Perfect. Thank you. Item B is a certificate of completion consolidation for the exterior building envelope/balcony repairs and roof replacement at James A. O'Brien Apartments. The recommended action is approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item C is a contract award for the exterior buildings envelope repair and roof replacement at the George H. Cartel Heights. The recommended action is to award the contract to the low bidder, East Coast Masonry and Restoration Incorporated, in the amount of $899,000 even.
I make a motion to award the contract to the low bidder.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item D is a contract award for the electrical panel replacement project at Edward F. Dolan Apartments. The recommended action is to approve the contract award to the lone bidder, Bright Light Electrical Company Incorporated, in the amount of $452,888. Do I have a motion to approve this contract?
I make a motion to approve the contract to
I'll second.
Bright Light.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item E is a certificate of substantial completion for the new video security/site improvement projects at Core Bishop Joseph Eid Apartments. The recommended action is to approve the certificate of substantial completion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sorry. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F is a change order number 1 for the underground electrical project Phase 3 at Maple Gardens. Change order number 1 is a credit in the amount of $1,463.38 for not installing LED lighting in the basements of buildings 19 through 23. A different type of lighting was installed. This is good. We have a credit on this one.
Yeah, credits are always
Do
good.
I have a motion to approve this change order?
Motion to
To
approve.
approve. Change order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 2 is miscellaneous. A is the HVAC on-call service contract. It's permission to advertise for a 6-month contract in the amount not to exceed $25,000.
Permission to advertise.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is a contract award for support and service of the surveillance cameras. The recommended action is to award a 2-year contract with a 1-year option to renew at the sole discretion of the Housing Authority to KM Security Solutions in the amount of $3,000 per month. Do you want to add something to that? Oh,
Sorry.
sure.
Is this to replace Mike, the guy that we called,
So Mike,
the camera guy?
yes, he has a contract through June.
Okay.
But this is something, if you recall, over the last few months, we've been talking about, there was some back and forth. Should we look to hire a full-time staff person? And I felt that we should go by the way of a service contract. This gives us 2 years to gauge. This is a full-service contract, monthly maintenance. If the cameras are not working, DVRs are not working, they'll replace it. There'll be a monthly maintenance log that they're checking all of our sites. We have Mike now, his company, but we went out to bid and we received 2 bidders, and this was the low. If you recall, months ago, we were proposing a salary, I think, of about $90,000 plus fringes, so this is much cheaper. But, it might not, we may find out it might not be the best approach to take, but at least it's a start, and we're going to have a company in place, a vendor in place to monitor
Mike
that.
was pretty much a one-man show, right?
Yeah, Michael is very knowledgeable
Oh, yeah.
of that. Again, and he certainly could have submitted a bid, but we felt this company is a little bigger. We may have outgrown Michael a little bit, but so Tim McCoy worked with the camera consultant for months, and we put together a solid scope of work, and we feel confident, and we got the recommendation of that engineer.
Will this be done on site or remote? Most of
Both.
the work, both.
Both, yes.
I do have a question on the other bidder. There's a pretty large discrepancy in pricing from the low bidder to the competitor. Is there any concerns there around, the services that we'll be getting from the lower bidder versus what the higher bidder was offering? Is there
Well,
any explanation?
when there's a big disparity like that, that's
Yeah.
always a concern. Tim McCoy and myself and our engineering consultant did discuss that. We double verified with the awarding the low bidder that they're comfortable, it's the same scope of work, checked references, got a recommendation letter. I think partly the other company was much larger. They're out of Canton and New Hampshire with a full 20-plus technicians, where this company, I believe, is out of North Providence, a smaller company that services the Newport Housing Authority, I believe Warwick, a couple of other smaller housing authorities in the area, the Providence Housing Authority. Maybe financially it's more feasible for them to do that, where the bigger company, I couldn't say 100%, but it's a valid question, and it's always a concern. We did our due diligence, and hopefully it works out okay.
Do I have a motion to award the 2-year contract?
Motion to award.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item C is a contract award for the removal and replacement of the mechanized garage door, bay number 1 at 201 Eddy Street. The recommended action is to award the contract to Next Generation Doors and Construction in the amount not to exceed $18,260.
I make a motion to award the contract to Next Generation Doors and Construction.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is personnel. A is the temporary maintenance custodial floater position. The recommended action is to ratify the appointment of Sean Lobo.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
Martha, roll call, please.
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Commissioner Medeiros?
Yes.
Commissioner Bentley?
Yes.
Chairman Zavadi?
Yes. Item B is the Management Department Housing Assistant position. The recommended action is to ratify the appointment of Jennifer Pavo. I have a motion.
Motion to ratify appointment of Jennifer Paver.
Second?
Martha, please.
Commissioner Medeiros?
Yes.
Commissioner Bentley?
Yes.
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Chairman Zavadi?
Yes. Item C is the Leased Housing Support Assistant position. The recommended action is to ratify the appointment of Jasmine Bays.
Aye. Make a motion to ratify the appointment of Jasmine Byers.
Second.
Commissioner Bentley?
Yes.
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Commissioner Maderas?
Yes.
Chairwoman Zahadi?
Yes. Item D is the Youth Service Program Assistant position. This is a seasonal temporary position. The recommended action is to approve the appointment of Kelsey Costa.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Commissioner Maderas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bentley?
Yes.
Chairwoman Zahadi?
Yes. Item E are 2 employee retirements. The recommended action is to accept the retirement of Richard Cody effective June 2nd, 2022, and of Michael Freitas effective August 1, 2022.
I make a motion to accept the retirements as noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on our agenda is executive session. The discussion is union negotiations update, and it is anticipated that executive session pursuant to Master Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and as chair, I so declare. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
At this time, we will be going into executive session, and we will be completing our business in executive session and will not be coming out into open session to this evening.